You know, I'm beginning to learn and probably appreciate that sailing is a bit of a funny old thing, you know, a bit unpredictable. When I first set out in, June, glorious weather, fantastic weather, and spent a little bit of time, probably a little bit too much time in Lulworth Cove, just enjoying that. But ever since then, ever since I left Portland, the weather has just been miserable. Well, not miserable, it's just not quite fitting for sailing, at least in the direction that I want to go. So I've always been on the nose, so I've had to do a lot of motoring or tacking, which takes absolutely ages. All this kind of thick mist and fog, so you can't go anywhere, at high risk of colliding with something. Or there's no wind at all, which is a real pain in the backside. But you know, sometimes there's a little bit of light that comes to sailing, particularly when you're new to it. And you know, these little cock-ups tend to sort of bring a bit of a smile to my face once I've kind of resolved the problem, like this, for example. Looking at that, thinking, I must go and get that. That seems very curious. There it is. One floating oar. That's what I've just done. I've emptied the bilge, and of course the boat was right underneath the outlet. Anyway, so here I move on. So what you're looking at here, this is Churston Cove in Tor Bay, and I'm going to head up back to Anstey, so I've got to go to recharge my batteries at the local cafe, which I like there, and get a couple of bits of provisions. So I've just popped back into Anstey just to get some provisions and stuff. Anstey's a nice cove, particularly when it's in the summertime, but it catches a swell when the swell comes in from the southeast, and that is today. And it's a fairly, you know, less than a metre, but it's just one of those little fat rolling swells, just fairly constant. Whereas going back to Hope Cove for tonight, there is a huge big peninsula that protects it from the southwest, so you don't get the rolling kind of swell. And also you're protected from the winds if they're coming from the southwest. Did I say southeast swell just now? Anyway, I'll correct it. So yeah, so that's where I'm going now. And then you've got the big cliff here, this one here, which will protect against southwesterlies. They should be calming down this afternoon. Out there this morning, when I tried to sail around, thinking about going back to Churston, I met gusts of up to 30 knots. So I turned around. You know, it says 17 knots. 17 knots, a lovely wind. Get a nice sailing with 17 knots. Yeah, a nice southwesterly would have worked really well for me, based on where I was trying to go, because I'm kind of heading south, really, along the coast. And yeah, at the moment it's registering 3.8, 3.6. Yeah, and it's pretty much coming at, you know, right behind me. Pain in the backside. So theoretically now the wind is coming from the northeast. so it's time for lunch. Oh, the good time as any, isn't it? What's the time? It's 12:37. We'll see. Give it an hour or so, and then if nothing happens, I'll start motoring. I've probably got about another 10 miles. 10, 15 miles to go to where I want to be. I want to get down to Salcombe. That's Dartmouth over there in the corner. There's a very limp flag. A couple of sails that are complaining. And yeah, there's boats out there that got sails up. But I don't know how well they're moving. Not very fast. So that's what I'm reading at the moment. Got 2.5 knots. It varies from 90 to 120. And all the foresailing is just flopping around, about as much use as an erection on a monk. So I think I'm going to bring that in. And And I'm just going to float here and enjoy the tranquility. I don't know if you can hear that in the background, but the droning from the coast. Powerboats. I've always wondered what it'd be like to be sitting in the middle of the Atlantic on one of these lulls where the sea is flat calm, almost pond-like. Nice bit of sunshine, no wind. And you're just bobbing, going with the prevailing current. I think that's what they call it. It's just me, nature, and my tinnitus, of course. I mean, none of this droning in the background. Must be quite spectacular, actually, to have that sense of isolation, but tranquility and peace. Maybe I'll get there one day. Maybe next year, not this year. Maybe next year, we'll see. Got some work to do on the boat yet. Rigging's 20 years old, that needs sorting out. I'm not so sure that'd be good to go out on the Atlantic with 20-year-old rigging. Well, yeah, who knows, maybe next year. Now this is sailing. Oh, 7 knots speed. We're sort of 19 knots of wind, 7 knots of speed, 2-metre swell. And yeah, the wind's actually going in the right direction for once. Fantastic. So it was set up. I've repositioned the boat. I'll show you the position in a second. It was about 6 metres of water, so I let out pretty much all the chain I could, which is about 30 metres. And the wind's calmed down a little bit, though it has been promising to sort of get up to about 19 knots again tonight. Straight in, well, I'll show you in a second. The thing with this, with anchoring, particularly close to rocks, is they lose complete definition at night. You cannot gauge them at all. I'll show you where I am, and because I had this, was it last night or the night before at Anstey? And again, I was worried about anchorage, and I was just trying to gauge where I was relative to the rocks. You just can't get depth at all. But I've got an advantage this time. I'll show you this. It's that chap there. If somebody as insane as I am, as Stu wants to act. So the thought there is that I'd rather bump into him than into the rocks. But to be perfectly honest, the wind is in perfect position to blow me away from the rocks, which it is at the moment. So I'll show you this now. Almost open sea. So if there is problems at night, you know, we'll probably find that I'm drifting over that way. But I'm going to set some regular alarms and see what happens. What I need to learn, as I said before, is I need to know what this boat, this anchor, is capable of. So that's the real purpose behind this. So it's the ideal position. You know, wind offshore, nothing behind me, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm actually kind of looking forward to it, but I can't deny the fact that I am very, very nervous. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? That's how you learn. It's I do not want to be one of these guys that just does a Sunday sailing. As you saw the sailing earlier, I loved it, absolutely loved it. So I've got to sort of push the boundaries a little bit in terms of my confidence and my belief and my awareness of what sailing, boats, anchors, whatever the case may be, is capable of. But one of the other reasons, actually, I haven't mentioned yet, is the reason why I didn't go into Salcombe was I just felt too nervous about going up the river. Obstacles and stuff like that. I find these rocks in this position less challenging emotionally, mentally, than going up Salcombe River. I know thousands of people who go up there all the time, but yeah, well, there's something else I'll learn in time. I'm going to Plymouth tomorrow or the next day. I'm nervous about that. But the winds are getting strong over the next few days again. Sort of, it's going to be, was it Thursday today? So Saturday, I think, they're going to get up to 26, 27 knots, northwest winds. So again, you know, I was in 25, 26 knots in Hope Cove. It wasn't a problem at all, so we'll see. But I've got to go into Plymouth anyway. I've got to stock up water and supplies and charge the batteries.